Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Vallombrosa Center, and we're very pleased to present Mr. Carl McColman. He'll be presenting a talk on Thomas Merton's Epiphanies, and that's going to be on April 24th, Saturday, from 10 a.m. Pacific time to 4 p.m. There's going to be two sessions. And Carl is a contemplative blogger and author, a podcaster based out in Atlanta. He's a lay associate of the Trappist Monastery of the Holy Spirit in Conyers, Georgia. And he's written numerous books on Christian spirituality and mysticism, the Big Book of Christian Mysticism, Unteachable Lessons, Befriend in Silence. He has a very well-known and highly regarded podcast on contemplative spirituality in Christianity. And you can find that on his website, carlmccolman.com. And Carl, your April 24th talk, if you want to go to vallombrosa.org/calendar, you can sign up for that. But do you want to let people know what they can hope to learn?
Sure. Thanks, David, for this opportunity to chat. And what I would say is let's begin with Thomas Merton, that this event really does focus on Thomas Merton. I know many people are familiar with Merton, but for those who may not be, he was a Trappist monk, lived here in America. He was born, where was he born? I think he had one parent was American, but the other parent was from New Zealand. He lived all over the world, lived in England. Before coming to America, did some graduate work at Columbia University up in New York, and then became a Catholic and became a monk, which was kind of an unusual thing to do back in the early 1940s. And then he was a gifted writer and wrote a number of books, became an international bestseller from his autobiography called The Seven-Story Mountain. But that was the first of just a string of books that he wrote, really all focusing on the spiritual life, the contemplative life, the mystical life. While he was rooted in the Catholic tradition, Merton was too big for any one kind of religious lineage. So Catholics may have bragging rights with him, but he is somebody who really, I think, speaks to people all over the world. I know a number of Buddhists who love Merton and who, draw on him very much in their own spiritual work. Of course, Protestants find Merton meaningful, Unitarians, people just all across kind of the spiritual spectrum. So that's just a little bit about Merton. He is a mystic for our time. And he really touches on so many important points, on the importance of going within, cultivating a deep and meaningful interior life, but not dropping anchor within. There's kind of a breathing in, breathing out quality to Merton, that you cultivate that interior heart, that sacred place within, that inner altar where you encounter the divine. But then you bring those blessings and that grace out, and it transforms the way we function in the world and how we can become, really manifestations, living icons, as it were, of light and love and grace. And that can touch our work for justice, our work just to make life better, just, the ordinary, how our relationships can be transformed. So Merton has just so much to offer. So this day will be, it's not a lecture in the sense of like, taking, a program at a college. Think of this more as a retreat day, kind of like a spa day for your soul, if you will. And the idea is that we will gather together, of course, thank you, COVID, it'll be on Zoom, but that enables me in Georgia to talk to you in California, and then hopefully people from all over will join us. We will gather, we will have some time for silence and for some meditation, for centering prayer, silent prayer, that kind of process. But also we're just going to kind of take this journey through Merton's story. And we're going to focus on these three kind of significant events in his life. And I'll just talk about one of them now. I don't want to kind of give away the whole shebang before the event. But the most famous of those three happened on a street corner in Louisville, Kentucky, in a spring day in 1950. 1958. And Merton he was a monk, and monks didn't normally just kind of go into town on a lark. He was there for a business purpose. And he was actually walking downtown. This is back in the 1950s when of course, in Louisville, you still have a vibrant downtown, but it's this kind of vibrant downtown. And he falls in love with everybody he sees. He stands on the street corner and he just has this experience that everybody around him is shining like the sun. And so scholars have called this Merton's Epiphany. And of course, the thing is it's a mystical experience, but Merton doesn't stop there. He doesn't just say, wow, I had this cool mystical experience. Isn't that neat? He reflects on it, and he offers us incredible insight into what this kind of extraordinary moment meant to him. But of course, in doing that, he offers us insight that we can then take into our own spiritual lives. And his basic argument is that there is an inherent dignity in being human, that being human, and he's writing as a monk. He says, the most important thing about me is not that I'm a monk. The most important thing is that I'm a human. I'm a human being, just like everyone else, whether you're a monk or a nun or just an ordinary person, it doesn't matter. And that all of us have kind of this sacred place within us that that belongs only to the divine, only to God, only to the holy. And when we access that it literally changes everything. So like I say, that's just one of 3 events. And what we see in Merton's life is after that, he becomes much more engaged in that external kind of quality, writing about social justice issues, writing about peace, disarmament. He lived during the Vietnam War. That happened in 1958. So as the 60s comes along, he's writing about the civil rights era, about the anti-war movement. So Merton takes the inner life and applies it to the realities of the world that he lived in. 60 years later, we're in the 2020s. And of course, look at what we're dealing with. We're dealing with pandemic. We're dealing with the ongoing scourge of racism, of white supremacy. Economic injustice is still a reality. There's still too much violence in the world. So, Merton's message is more relevant than ever. And so we're going to be reflecting together on that, on how Merton invites us into a deeper spirituality and then invites us to apply that to the world that we live in today. So I hope people will find that meaningful, kind of spiritually nourishing, this kind of spa day for the soul. And, we'll have some poetry, we'll have a few stories, we'll have some time for silence, some time for conversation.
Yeah, that will be a fantastic day. So I invite everyone to go to valombrosa.org/calendar and click on the event for April 24th, the 3 Epiphanies of Thomas Merton. And Carl McColman will be there, I'll be there, and we hope to see you there too. So from Valombrosa and Carl, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Many blessings.